Hey, welcome back to the channel. We're here with a new episode of Fancasting, and we're here to talk about Die Hard, one of my personal favorite movies. And we're going to break down some of the casting. We're going to highlight two of the main characters, John McClain, played by the great Bruce Willis, and Hans Gruber, played by the late, great Alan Rickman. Now, for those of you that don't know, this movie is based on a book called Nothing Lasts Forever by Roderick Thorpe, and the movie follows Bruce Willis, who's a New York police officer, uh, who is caught up in a terrorist takeover of a Los Angeles skyscraper while visiting his estranged wife. And I love this movie for a lot of reasons. I think it's one of the best pure action movies. I think some of the lines of dialogue are, utter perfection, and it just kind of hits everything you want to see in an action movie. A Christmas movie, which I know it's a hot debate, but it is a Christmas movie. It just is. It takes place during Christmas, um, and it has enough character development that you feel like it's not just an empty film, while yet the action comes first and the entertainment is what makes this film so great. Now, we're going to start with John McClane. Now, John McClane is kind of a old police officer who's retired. He's done for that with that, and he's kind of has everything wrong going with his life. But there's a certain aspect to him as a character that's really interesting, and there's kind of this rough around the edges part of him. And who I decided to go with this is maybe not someone you would have thought of, but it's Michael B. Jordan. Now, one of the things you have to realize is you need a star for this role. If you're going to sell this movie, you need a star. Michael B. Jordan's a star. Black Panther and Creed. I mean, if you've seen him in Just Mercy or Fruitvale Station, he's fantastic. And a big part of John McClane is the physicality. And if anyone can defines bringing physicality to roles as far as both statue and being able to be an intimidating presence, Michael B. Jordan has clearly shown that. I mean, if you've seen him in Creed or even in Black Panther, he's absolutely jacked. And then there's this intimidating factor that he can bring, especially with Black Panther as he plays Killmonger. Now, some of the other aspects that I think are important is the more human side, and that's where you look at a role like Just Mercy or Fruitvale Station, and you get really humanized versions of Michael B. Jordan as an actor. I would actually look more towards Fruitvale Station, and there are a lot of scenes with him and Octavia Spencer, and it's just him being with his family and kind of seeing what his life was like in that film based on the character, who tragically was killed by police officers. And it's just, you get this feeling of someone who's such a kind soul, and then in Just Mercy you get someone who's very driven, like John McClane as a character. And then you get Creed, you can get this more cocky type of guy who goes into his first fight. For those of you that watch the first movie, when he gets into the ring and he knocks out the first guy right away, and then they bring in a real boxer, and he's playing all cocky, like he has everything set in his mind, and then it gets flipped on him and he gets hit to the floor, and he loses. But there's this cockiness, there's this ego that kind of comes with John McClane that kind of makes him such a badass, and you can get that from films like Creed, and then also films like Black Panther. I mean, look at the ego that his character has there. But there's a conviction to it, right? You believe it, and that's what's important. You have to believe it, because this film, without someone like Bruce Willis, or who I think Michael B. Jordan can be in this film, you don't believe it. And if you don't believe that, the dialogue sounds way too cheesy. Like the dialogue's already walking the line of being cheesy, like yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. That is pretty damn cheesy. But it works within the context of the film because you're rooting for that character so much. Anyways, that is my casting for John McClane. Let me know if you like that. We're going to move on to the next one. Now, you guys may not know, but there is a legend called Hugh Jackman, who's played Wolverine, but that's not the film that made me think he could play Hans Gruber. The film that made me think he could play Hans Gruber is Bad Education, which you can actually check out the review on our channel. Put the link up above. But here's the thing about that film. He plays this guy who can, on the surface, looks like this really good guy who looks out for students and looks out for other people and is just this kind, innocent person. But then as the film goes on, you realize how bad and of a person he is and how much messed up stuff he's done and kind of twisted his mind is in the same way that Hans Gruber's mind is twisted. But it's very strategic, very, very strategic. And he's made his character's made every single thought to how am I going to get away with this? What is my plan? I mean, even I'm trying not to spoil Bad Education because it came out this year, but he has a plan for everything that goes on. Stuff goes wrong and he can adapt on the fly. And that's very much what Hans Gruber does as he's trying to steal all of this money from the skyscraper, 640 million. Now, he's from Germany. I don't think he has to be German necessarily. I think Hugh Jackman could play that perfectly well. But you could also change it where he can be a different ethnicity. I don't think that's necessarily important to the role. Now, thinking about it, the other part of Hugh Jackman is for those of you who have seen Prisoners. And have you seen a good person turn evil? And in there, he just, at the end, he's just so lost and he's so full of hatred. In some of the scenes he has with Paul Dano, great actor, by the way, you get to see this twisted person who's turned from good to bad, right? But he's completely convicted. And that's what Hans Gruber is. He's completely convicted in what he wants to do. So I believe Hugh Jackman can bring his conviction from that. And I also believe from Bad Education, he can bring that kind of like good guy really actually being a bad guy, which for those of you who watch Die Hard, when Hans Gruber gets caught by Bruce Willis, he pretends to just be an innocent person who's escaped from the terrorists, right? But it turns out it's actually Hans Gruber. And I actually think that part is where Hugh Jackman really just came right into my head as the perfect person to play that. And you just do the makeup and styling more towards the Bad Education type, and you can get it that, oh, he's definitely a bad guy. I can see it now, And that's my casting for Hans Gruber. I think it's great. Now, I just gave you Michael B. Jordan as John McClain and Hugh Jackman as Hans Gruber. Now, let me know what you guys think of those two casting. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the video, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.